Hey, what's up guys? This is Really Bonfire back with another amazing tutorial, and you can already see that I trapped this funny sausage things here inside of my frame. They try to escape, they bounce from the borders, they inflate and deflate and do all of the crazy soft body stuff that you love, and I think we should just do that stuff together, okay? So you can do it with these sausages, but you can also do it with donuts, put some transparent material on it or some emissive stuff and just let them have a good time here, okay? Here is another example with some beautiful shaders, so we can also talk about the materials and stuff like that. And last but not least, I also have it with the Sony PlayStation buttons here, and you can see they move in your frame, they bounce from the borders, they will inflate and deflate and just have a good time here, okay? So if you want to learn about this crazy explosive soft bodies today, then this is the right tutorial for you. Just be sure that as always you will find more of the good stuff on my Patreon Free Bonfire. You can also sign in for the free trial here for 7 days and check out all of the good stuff for 7 days for free, alright? After that time frame it will turn into a monthly membership, but until then you can download the files, watch the good stuff and just learn some new techniques, alright? If you don't want to become a Patreon, you can still support me here on YouTube by ringing the bell, do the good stuff, leave a comment, leave a like, whatever. Just support me here on YouTube, that would also be pretty amazing. Last but not least, you can also follow me on Instagram, it's Markus3D, if you want to see my latest projects, artworks and just be up to date with my next tutorial ideas, alright? And one more, last but not least, okay, if you want to download some free stuff, you can go over to my Gumroad, Markus Gonza, and just for example download these wallpapers, okay? But now let's jump into Cinema 4D and just have some fun with these soft bodies, okay? Alright, finally in Cinema 4D, and before we start to build this one from scratch, I just want to show you with these 3 scene files the basic idea behind the process, alright? So first idea is to grab like 200 sausages here and this kind of a meat grinder, but it doesn't really work like a meat grinder. It's more like helping you to put these sausages into position, okay? So you can see that this angle and this angle are aligned to the lines, to the aspect ratio of my camera, and this is just what you set up in the render settings. So for example here I go with a full HD image. You can also see my borders here, and when I look through my camera and would let this simulation run, these sausages fall down and they will be trapped in this volume here, and this is exactly what I want. So I want these sausages to collide with my walls to get this really cool effect that all of these soft bodies, they are just trapped here and they bounce around from the walls, and I think this is just pretty cool, alright? So that's the basic idea behind step 1. Then in step 2 you can already see that these sausages, they already fell down and now they are inside of the borders of my camera here. So when I would look through my camera, then you will see that these sausages just go to the border here, and now you could apply your forces, your inflation and all of the good stuff to just create an amazing funny sausage party here in your frame, okay? And this is what will happen in the next step, alright? So now you can see when I scrub through the timeline, then step by step different sausages here, they will just inflate and become like this massive sausages here. I mean, why am I doing this with sausages, okay? I could also do it with donuts, okay? Or some other shapes, but in that case I just thought this was funny, alright? So let's just do something like this one today. So now you have a basic idea of the process. I think it is time to just start from scratch here, alright? So I think we should just start with a capsule here, alright? And the basic idea now would be to just create some shapes that you want to fill your volume with. I will go with the cylinders because it's quite easy to build them, but I think we could also mix it up with some other shape. So let's grab a torus, for example. I will just move it next to it, rotate it in X, press T to scale it down a bit, maybe just adjust the thickness to something similar to our spline, to our capsule here, okay, something like this. You could also grab the sausage, duplicate it and just make this one a bit longer to have some variation, maybe one more. And of course we also need a couple more subdivisions here, so you could go here, go to the height segments, just increase this one to maybe something like this. We need to be clever with our subdivisions and not overdo it, okay, because soft body calculations, when you have massive polyloads here, then it will just look ugly and will not work as you expected. So just be sure to not go crazy with your polygons, but something like this one is a good ratio of polygons. Let me in that case just make this one more interesting by holding down Shift, put a band deformer into the capsule. Now let's rotate this one like that, and maybe we make this one a bit shorter to have a sausage like this one. Let's duplicate this one more, let's do it like that. And for example, this one could be, just think about it. Maybe this one is shorter, but also angled. But then I want to give it a radius, something like this one, okay? And do it like this, okay? We now have too much height segments, something like this one. So maybe these are already all the elements that we want to use. No, I think I want to have one more, just make this one smaller. And let's say we also want to have like a tiny donut like this one. And then why don't we just spice this up with a cube, for example? Okay, we can also go with a cube. So let's not make this sausage and circle centered, but let's also work with cubes here. Therefore, just put this one to 60 by 60, for example. We can make it a bit bigger. Now give it some fillet or fillet. I still don't know how to pronounce it, man. I feel like an idiot here, but that's just the way it is, all right? So let's make a cube like this one. And I think I could create another cube. Right now I'm overdoing it already, and this one could be maybe a cube like this, or let's do this one maybe with a bigger fillet radius, something like this one, which is pretty round. Okay, so for example, it could be like that. And now that I see it, I think this one should also have a bigger fillet radius, something like this one. Okay, so these will be our basic shapes with which we want to fill our volume. All right, now the next step would be to make these ones with a better topology, because honestly, soft bodies will not work that great with pinching like this one. All right, because when you would simulate this, then you will get some ugly holes and stuff like that. You will also have the same problem here, and it will just look ugly. So this is why I would suggest to probably select all of them. Let's see if we can do this. So you select the first one, hold down shift, now click the last one. Now you have all of them selected, and hopefully I'm not wrong when I would go now to the remesh, hold down alt, and now all of them are put into a remesh. You can see that worked like a little magic trick here. And now you don't have this pinching anymore, because now you have all over quads, which is just a good thing. Okay, one last thing, I can see that this one has 2 less polys, so therefore I would go here, probably spice this one up here a little bit, give it even more, something like that. The cap segments we can also put to 6, for example. All right, I think this is feeling better. We have the same problem here, so click this one, put this one maybe to 10, or was it 20, or we could even go to 25. All right, put this one to 6. Okay, so now we have a good resolution on this one also. Last but not least, let's go to the torus, and somehow I like to say last but not least. For some reason today I already said it like 3 times in this tutorial, so let's put this one to 30, let's put this one to 60. Let's say that this is a good aspect ratio, and maybe, I'm sorry, let's also do it for this one. Put this one to 50, put this one to 30. All right, so now we also have a good resolution on this one. You can see that it looks a little bit funky, a little bit funny here. All right, so in that case I would click on the remesh and just activate the symmetry on all axes. Now you can see we have a beautiful symmetry here. Let's see if the other ones are looking good. We have the same problem with this one, so in that case also click here and go to the X. Okay, the x-axis was wrong. Now we get this crazy heart shape, which honestly, okay, I don't want to talk about it. It looks funny, it looks like a heart, but let's just search for the right axis, for the Z axis. This is looking good. And now we have these beautiful objects here, all right? And now I think we are ready for the next step. Okay, therefore, let me select all of them and let's just see if I can get this one correctly. Go to view, maybe hold all of them, that's better. Now I want to only select the remesh objects. Press C to make that editable. Now we have these elements here. Let's just see if the axes are aligned to it. Okay, I just cycle through it. I don't like this axis, so I go to axis center, reset it to all points. Okay, of course now the axis is still like here. Okay, I don't like it, so I would just go to axis mode, move the axis over there. Let's just see, and everything else will be fine. Okay, so now I think it is time to just set up a camera. Oh, let's grab this camera here, and I guess we just want to go to attributes, set this one to 0, and maybe I just move this one over so you can see all of the parameters. Reset it to 0, press R to rotate it, turn it around like this one, 90 degrees. Now I want to move it up here. All right, and let's just see what we set up in our system. system in our render settings. Okay, I don't know what what these settings are doing here, but I want to work with an aspect ratio like HD, and I think I also want to use it in portrait mode. So let's switch this one around, something like this one. This will work perfectly for your Instagram Reels if you want to share it on social media. Okay, now let's activate the borders here, and now you can see this scene basically from the top, and we want to create something like a container here and fill it up with our soft bodies. All right, I think therefore it will just be a good idea to maybe go to panel, new view panel, create one over here. Okay, so now we can still move in this one, and we have it locked here to our camera. Or you know what, we want to turn this one around, so this one will be our camera perspective from the top, and in this one we can remove our borders and just move around freely. All right, I just want to see my camera lines here, so I will click on the camera object and maybe go to display and set this one to on. Now I can see this one. This is looking good. I want to put a plane into my scene, something like a floor collider. Let's do it like this. Let's just be sure that it is big enough for our scene. Now I want to create a cube here. Let's go to the front mode. You can also go here, press NB, and now I want to scale this one up until the borders are matching here. All right, so I will do it just like this. I eyeball it, but of course you can be more precise. Now I press C to remove the top piece of this one, go to poly mode, select this one, remove it, and you can press UL to go into the lines mode, select this top ring. Now go to your move tool again. Just be sure that you are not in axis mode. Okay, and now let's move this one up, and let's just see. Let's press T to scale this one down. Let me see if I can match this one better. Therefore, I will go to the front view here. Okay, let's make this one smaller. Now you can definitely see that our cage is not big enough for our camera. I think I already did a little mistake, because before we built this collision object, I think we also want to change the focal length here to something like 100. Now you can see that we need to move our camera way higher, somewhere around here, for example. Now let's go to our cube again. I will just scale this one down, something like this. Click the top line here again, move it up there, for example, press T. Okay, so for now I will just eyeball this one, but you can see I'm pretty close here. I will press F3 to go to the side view just to see it from another axis. Now let me go to poly mode, object mode. Let's scale this one down, and I'm sure I could have done this in a more clever way, but now you can see that it is aligned here. This is good enough, and it's also aligned from the front view more or less. So this could be a collision object here. I just think to fill this one up, it is better to press KL to give it like a cut here. All right, now press T to scale this one up, so this can just more easily catch all of the soft bodies which will fall down here, and now they will bounce here and fall into position. So I will just make the entry hole here just a bit bigger, so we don't have to work that precise. All right, this is looking good. Now put a collider tag on this one. Just go down here, collider. Let's just see the alignment of our normals. Now you can see that the normals are facing outwards. That means actually that you should set your collider side to the back. Okay, so this is looking good. Now we have these objects here. Let's move them up there. Press NA to see them, and now I can see, hey man, they are really tiny, so I want to scale them up to just give them a better size here. I think something like this one could be reasonably good. All right, press R to rotate it in another axis. Let's do it like this. And I think now we could just go to a cloner, put all of them into the cloner. All right, let's move this one up. And I think, for example, we could start here with maybe 5 by 10 by 5, something like this. That means actually we have 250 clones. Okay, is this the correct math, Markus? I think so. Okay. So let's just see if this one is maybe too much. I'm not sure. You know what? Just for this tutorial, I will just reduce it a bit more to 25 times 5. So this could be like 125 if I'm not completely stupid here. And I think this is already enough clones for this tutorial. Of course, your simulation will be faster when you use less elements, or even also when you use elements with less topology. So this is just up to you, and you will just have to test it a little bit, but I like this one. I will just make a duplicate, kill the cloner here. Now I click on this one, press C to make this one editable. Now I select all of these elements here. Okay, so So 125 elements, you can also see it here, polygon objects 125. I select all of them, and now let's see, is it this one? Okay, I think this one is the dynamic movement tool, or dynamic place it is called. All right, this is good. Now I can just move it like this, so they should not touch anymore when you do that. Let's see if we can spread these ones out a little bit. Okay, I'm too stupid right now to do it, but this is already a good start. Now we have all of these clones and they don't intersect right now, and they can just fall down with gravity if you want to turn this one now in the next step into soft bodies. Great. One last thing that we need to do is to go to the poly mode, and I'm just not sure, so they can still slightly intersect here, and there you can see this one. This is why we have all of them selected. Press D to extrude them, and now I just drag it slightly to the left. All right, now I make them just a bit more narrow, something like this for example, and now you can see that all of these objects, they have a clean safety zone around them, so there are no initial collisions which will mess up your whole simulation. This is why now I select all of these objects, right click and go to simulation tags, and now set it to a soft body simulation. This is looking good. Now you can see all of these lines here, and then we could basically do our simulation now. And I just want to be sure that I didn't forget anything, so I will select all of my soft bodies. Let's go through the settings. So for now we don't need any ballooning. Soft body, this is good, and maybe I want to set the softness to another value. So when you reduce the softness here, they will get less soft, of course. Okay, so I guess I shouldn't even have explained that. Okay, but maybe for now we could reduce this to 50. You can just play with it, but for now I think this is good. Maybe you can also leave it at 100. I will press Ctrl D to see my gravity, and I'm just a little bit afraid with this strong gravity that when all of them fall on top of each other, that they could penetrate through each other. This is why for now I think I will reduce the gravity just subtly to get them fall into position with less force. All right, so this is looking good. We also have the collision on our meat grinder. That's perfect. Now we need one more collider on the plane, and this one, I would say this one should be set to front, because I'm pretty sure that the normals are facing upwards here. Okay, so hopefully now we get a beautiful simulation. One last thing that I want to do is to click on the cube, go into this menu and select an atom array by holding down Alt. Now you can just see this one better. Hey, this is Markus from the future, and I just wanted to interfere here the tutorial, because I would say before you let your soft bodies now fall down into your meat grinder into position, press Ctrl D and go to your simulation settings, and maybe you have to play with it, but I would say you could go up with the iterations from 1 to 2, or in another case you could also go with the sub steps up from 20 to 30 or something like that. This will help you to make your simulation more stable and will prevent you from collisions that can appear between objects. When these settings are too low and a lot of elements are falling on top of each other, then you could, for example, get some messed up collisions like this one, what you actually want to prevent at that stage. Okay, so now when you let your elements fall down, you can press Ctrl D, go to these settings, maybe also go up with the dampening to just suck a little bit of the energy out of the simulation. What is also important, maybe you to go up with the collisions at that stage already. I think you start with 2, but you can test with 5, and maybe you run your simulation just once or twice or even 3 times until you are satisfied with the result when these objects come down to the end position here. Okay, so this is a really important step here, and I didn't do it correctly. I let them fall down now in the tutorial without improving these numbers, so please do what I didn't do in the tutorial now. Okay, so you will not have these little problems here with the collisions. So just go up with these settings. All right, so this was future Markus. Have fun with the tutorial. All right, and I hope that we don't mess this up completely. So let's just click on play, and hopefully there will be no crazy explosions. But yeah, just some downward movement here. You can see the frames are going on and on. I just pause it here and put this one to 500. Let's continue with it, and I just want to let them subtly fall into position. Hopefully that everything will work out. You can see they are colliding here. They go through this more tight hole here. I just want to go a little bit closer to it, but you can see here they now slide down into position. All right, I got some message on Slack, but this has to wait. Let me just see how this one is falling down. This is looking already quite beautiful. So they are bouncing here, they fall into position. Now we can also switch to the other camera here. By looking at it from this view, you can see that they fall beautifully into place. So I think we did everything correct here. And I will just give it a couple more frames here so it will settle down. Let's see it one more time from this view, and you can see that they now relax and you get this beautiful pile, this bunch of soft bodies. And this is a really good start for the next step, all right? So what you would have to do now is to select all of these soft body tags. And I'm pretty sure we can set something like a new default position. So let's go to the dresser and set a new initial state, okay? So now when we go back to 0, you can see that our soft bodies are already in position. The new simulation is running, but now we have everything in place and now we can have all of the fun that we want to have with these soft bodies here and do some really funny stuff, okay? Alright, so now this will be the part where we finally can have fun in this scene. So everything is laying in position, and for example, now we could apply a turbulence to it. You can see I already put that into my scene. You will find that here under simulate forces and put whatever you like into the scene, just play with it. I went with a scaling of 1000 to get a more big noise pattern for the turbulence and a strength of 100. Maybe this is too much, I don't know actually. And I also press Ctrl D to go to my settings. I'm not sure if I showed you this one already, but I went up, for example, with the iterations. This will just give me a more precise simulation. All right, I think I also went up with the damping. Maybe I set this even to 10 to just suck a little bit out of the aggressive energy out of the scene. So the movement will be hopefully more graceful. And I also think that I increased the extra iterations here and put some end frame pass here. All right, and you could basically also go up with the collisions, for example, if this will be necessary to have really clean collisions between the objects. This is looking good. What I also want to change is to select all of the soft bodies one more time, and I just want to see if there is something like a margin around it. All right, so I think the soft body also work with the surface parameter here, and you can see this is the thickness, which will be probably calculated around your object, and I think this could be way less so that objects can get closer to each other and don't have this big safety margin around them. I hope this makes sense here, okay? And then one last thing that is bothering me is that the soft bodies now, even that we have this meat grinder collision object in place, it looks like they are just going out of the frame just a little bit. So maybe I should have made our collision object smaller here. So this is why I set some keyframe here on 0. Now I go to a frame, for example, like 40, just click on it, wait a second. And now I just scale this one down, the border here, to somewhere around here inside of the frame already. So this is looking good. I will just make this one smaller and maybe in the height axis also something like this. Okay. Let's try it with these values. I will just simulate this one. Now we have the turbulence, also the animation of the meat grinder getting smaller here. So when we look through this window here, now you can see the borders are shrinking in, and now we have better collisions here. I think this is just looking better, that now these objects, they don't go outside of the frame. Therefore, let's make this one just invisible. Press also NA to see the boundary here. And now you can see we have this safety margin around our frame. And I think this is just looking way more elegant and beautiful. You could even be so precise that it is really exactly on the border. That would be, of course, the perfect magic trick here. So just do that if you like to do it. But you can see that now I have this beautiful turbulence movement in my scene. And of course, now the live feedback is kind of small. So that would be a good place to just click on one of your soft bodies, go to Cush, all right, and just Cush the scene. Maybe wait for 5 minutes, and then we can see our simulation, how it will look with the turbulence, and we can build a better opinion on if it is too fast or too violent and stuff like this. So let me just simulate this one for 5 minutes, I would say. All right, and now when I let this one play back, by the way, the cushing took like 4 minutes or something like that. And now you can see that the soft bodies are moving with the turbulence. I would say that the turbulence is not as beautiful as it could be. It's kind of interesting, but it's not awesome. So therefore, I would say I would even go with a higher strength of the turbulence, something like this one. And maybe the scaling I would reduce to 700. Alright, something like this one. Therefore, I will clean the cache here and just cache this one more time, wait for 3 to 4 minutes, and let's just see if this simulation will be better and more interesting. Alright, let's check this one more time. Let's click on simulate, and now you can see that at least it is an improvement. So I think the movement is more violent, more aggressive, more dynamic, okay? But of course, you could still improve this one. So in your case, you could make this one even stronger with the strength and stuff like that. Maybe go for a lower scaling. You could also put a rotation in your scene and inflate it and just go crazy with it. Alright, I would say this is enough here for this YouTube lesson. In the second lesson for my patrons, I will talk about the lighting, the making it beautiful part. So we create some beautiful shaders, for example, this one on this red sausage here, and talk about the lighting and all of the good stuff just to make it beautiful. We could also create some nice cool chrome shader like this one or something like this one. You already know it with the emissive sausages inside of the mix. We could also go for the realistic approach, okay? Go for something like this or something that looks more like really crazy, okay? Okay, so I think this is it for the YouTube part. Thank you so much for your time. I hope to see you on Patreon. Have an amazing life, be powerful, be prolific, and just become the artist of your wildest dreams, alright? Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.